Hello everybody and welcome to today's session on desktop publishing part 3. So adding images and design theory with Jeff Wilson and myself, I'm Tom Strnad. I'm the lead digital artist of the Creator Space, and again, thanks for joining us. I put a note up, parts 1 and 2 you can access if you go to our website, tbmcs.ca. You can access it directly there, and you'll see parts 1 and 2, and please join us 2 weeks from now. We have the final one, part 4, where we're going to look at the, finalizing the design, getting it ready for print, and the export options, and going through it and talking about that final published element. And I think it'll be great because Jeff has a lot of great experience in publishing his comics, and we'll talk to him about that journey as well and how that works. So it's really exciting, a good finale a couple weeks from now. So sign up for that. And we'll see. We hope to see you there on that one. So just before we jump into it, I just want to thank all of our partners in making this project happen. So we have the Canada Council for the Arts, and then we have our library partners: Blue Mountains Public Library, Collingwood Public Library, Wasaga Beach Public Library. And again, you can access this software on the iMac stations at the libraries once they're available again for booking. So we have 2 stations at the Blue Mountains Public Library, and we will have a station at Wasaga Beach Public Library, and there's one coming soon to the Collingwood Public Library as well in the spring. So we'll keep adding computer stations, digital arts workstations that are going to contain the software that we talk about and introduce in these sessions. So it's really exciting. Digital design with Jeff. So we've been talking about, if you've joined us for other workshops, as Jeff is an illustrator, animator, and I think what's really cool is we're going to talk about, especially when we end off with the session, is how, he's been publishing his comics and anthologies, and then available selling these on Amazon and being able to self-publish. So I think it's just amazing what's available, and being able to share your art. And we'll look at that today. I'm going to be putting in some photos and into adding images into kind of a 5-page document that I've started up. So it's a really great journey. So what's the software we're using? I just want to touch base on that. Affinity Publisher software, low-cost app. Very similar to Adobe's InDesign. So you can use it on Mac OS Windows. There isn't an iPad version, unlike the other ones, Designer and Photo. We've featured that, but this one doesn't have that. So just to note, it is just for desktops currently. And as mentioned, you can access this on the iMac computers. Now, right now there's a new version, 1.9 came out, so I'm demoing on that version. It doesn't need a lot of, in terms of tech specs, 2 gigs of RAM, and so it's a pretty low consuming program. We always recommend, if you are looking to get a new computer, looking at that 16 gig RAM size for desktops. 8 would really be your minimum if you're doing digital arts. And if you have an older computer and you need something a bit faster, that's why we have our library set up with the iMac. So you can always just bring your projects there. So if you're struggling with it on an older computer, that's come and access our computers. We'd love to have you there. So at the end, we'll have a Q&A on this session. So you can ask the questions at the bottom there of the screen, and just type them in, and we'll get to them at the end and do our best to answer them, or we can always get back to them next session on part 4 if we don't have an answer for you right away. Want to also mention we have this, there's an interesting book. They have these really cool workbooks that Affinity makes as well, and I've been using this, and really gives you some good advice. At the same time, what's really cool is what is available. I'm just going to show this, the software for Affinity, and so the software here for Affinity, so 1.9, so we're using Publisher. So this is the software right here. Right now it's 50% off. So just, a little quick mention on that, that you can get it for $35, one-time fee, forever fee. And you can, purchase it. They have all these information on it and so on. And what's great about it is they have a whole, if you go to this website, affinity.serif.com. I'll type it in later as well. You can go to their Learn section, and you can go directly to Publisher video tutorials. So we're just going through these intros and stuff, but you can really get into all these complex concepts. They have tons and tons of videos. So, where we want to talk about kind of our experiences and theories of, why we do things, a lot of the how and technical, you can continue that journey with these official videos on the Affinity site. So I just wanted to showcase how that works. Okay, so let's cut over to the software here. So what I have open right now is something that I've been working on, just a few pages. So we've talked about the headlines. So I have here a headline that says changing times. I have a bit of a text box that I've typed in some words. Again, demo purposes, not necessarily a lot of meaning in any of this, but just trying to kind of take it through. Now this box, this is what we talked about last time, is how you can link text boxes. So I have this line linking over here, and you'll see that if I add any spaces or change the sizing of this, it's going to move the words down here. So that's kind of the cool thing, is that it's going to not make me have to retype things. So I can put more up here. I can decide kind of where I want the break, and it goes from there. Then I have another text box here that's independent, and I've kind of set up knowing. And I think, Jeff's been really talking about this. I'm just going to snap that in the middle there. So terminals, having the plan, sketching things out, like use something like Procreate, or, you can sketch out kind of what each page should be, what it's going to look like, and how are you going to do that, and go from there. So here we're going to look at how do we add some photos. And that's what we'll start off with here first. How do we add some photos to make this engaging with images? So if we just had text, it would be pretty boring, and I don't think I'd just be reading like 3 sentences of text. So how do we add some images to this? So I'm gonna just delete what I have here and just kind of start over. So I have some photos that I have ready, and what we do is to add a picture frame. We have these picture frame tools here on the side. So I'm just gonna go to that mode, and I'm just gonna put in a picture frame like so. Now this one I have set up now. It has a bit of a 6.5 point square line. So I can also, I can change that. I'll just click up here. Where is this? Right here. And I can make that smaller or have no line at all, right? So in this case, I'm just gonna have a little bit of a border, a 6 point, just a black line there. Okay, and now what I'm gonna do is, that becomes an area for the photo to come into. Now, what we're gonna do next is actually do something called place. So it's I hit place. I'm gonna choose the photo I want. So I have this little sunrise thing. I'm gonna hit open, okay? And now it's placed it in there. And what I can do is, I can move the photo around. Right, so it's placed it there. I can zoom it in, right? And you can see it's virtually like doing that. So I can, oops, I'm just hitting the wrong key here. So I can kind of reframe it to what I want, and I'm not seeing anything else around it. And down here I have like a quick scaling button, right? So I've scaled it so it fills up that frame, right? So I'm placing and filling the frame to make it work in that manner, right? So. And again, I can move it around and so on. And I can also then scale this box, right? So I can make the framing a little bit different. So I can like snap it to the border line here. And same with this way, I can make it, let's fill the whole page, I decide, okay? And then we'll go like that. And then I can again move this, right? Maybe I want the camera in the shot a little bit, so I can like zoom out, right? So you make it work. And that's how we can place an image. It's really that quick and simple. Let's go over here to page 2 so we can continue on. And what I'll do now is I'm just going to do a place a photo, but I'm not going to have the box. So I just want to show you guys the difference of what happens if I just place a big photo and then I click it. What happens is now it just placed it on the whole everywhere, right? So this is if we don't want to like pre-scale anything. I just want to deal with the whole photo. So this might be, I want to put it in the background or, play with it that way, or just, scale it in myself and not use a picture frame. So that's another way we can bring it in, is just to place the photos in, fill up the whole page, right, into the gutters and all the margins and all that stuff, all the fun stuff that is needed make it all cut up and work. So that's another way, right? So I can just place it directly without a frame. So again, that works there because I don't have anything specific. But here I'm going to want to do another frame. So I'm going to create one because here I have a predetermined idea that I want to put in a photo of the Collingwood terminals. So here I want to just put a really specific frame right in here to, kind of fit in there. Okay, and then from there I'm going to, now I'm going to hit place. And I'm going to get the terminals I have right here. Click open, right? And now it's placed it right in there. So I have the terminals placed in there. Same idea. Again, I can rescale this. I can zoom in on it, right? Depending on what I want, right? And that can work really nice. And then I can, bring it down a little and you can see, so it's doing all that cropping really quickly. So, and we can go like that. Now, let's say for this one, maybe, I don't want to have a border, so I can change that. The other thing we can do is we can play with the corners. So I can make it rounded, and then I can play with, how rounded we want that, right? So there's the slight rounding, so maybe I want like that. I can also change, kind of do these kinds of things. So quickly put like in different shapes. I can do like concaves, and again, play with, how concave is it, right? So you can, really quick, interesting ways to do some framing. A cutout, and it goes like this, right? And then you can play with shapes and everything like that. But really, interesting, quick ways to do something. And so for this one, let's just do a rounded, and it, we'll kind of play with it like we're in the porthole of a ship or something. So again, does it make sense stylistically? So just wanted to show some of the tools we can do there. So that's nice. This one again has no frame on it, right? I kind of like it just like that. And let's do maybe one more down here, and I'm going to just predetermine on the stroke line there that I'm not going to have a border. So I'll get that ready, and I'm going to put another box just down here. Okay, and what we're going to do is place another. So you can see I'm just going to file, place, being able to bring in different photos. So I'm going to place another photo I have here. Let's just go through these. What do I have? I have some geese. Let's put some geese in there. That's nice. And just different kind of observational photos. Nothing fancy. I took these on my iPhone as I journey around here during the lockdown times. And yeah, kind of a journal of what's happening here, right? Like, so, getting a sunrise, everything still happens, right? So you can see how we've kept going with that, and I've also just have the grid line. So I put on the show grid. So that I find that to be quite helpful, just with putting in the photos and having that grid line, because it also helps to snap photos over, so you can actually like kind of feel it like snapping to where it wants to be. So again, double click on any page you want to look at specifically, but what a quick way. So whether we want to place or whether we want to import directly, we can place them in those windows, those picture windows, or we can just place them on there and then resize however we feel like it, right? So it's kind of like how much pre-control do you want to do, and I think that goes back to what Jeff was talking about from the beginning, is that pre-planning. Like what kind of, how many photos do you want? How many boxes do you want, right? And what's it going to be? So this is an example of how I, maybe I'm doing a photo book, like as a photographer, and I'm putting in all my photos and doing it that way. Again, if you're doing, let's say you have comics, you want to figure out, and Jeff will show us more about that, but how do you put in the comic strips and what makes sense? What kind of format, right? So this one's like a 8.5, 11 kind of page book, right? But comics are typically a little bit different, right? In that idea, because they're more horizontal than vertical. So again, that could play an important role. If, let's say, all my photos, I want to have one photo per page, maybe I want like a 4x6 book, right, to put those images in. So that's really the neat thing of figuring out what you want to do. And then again, so here, let's let's put some more just down here. We'll just we'll place another photo. I got a winter one here, so let's throw that one in here. So you basically queue it up, and then you click on the page where you want it. So, and then you can just scale it out however you want. And if you don't use the outside corners, I'll just mention that on the scaling, then you can actually squeeze and skew it, right? So I can, kind of make it the scaling can be off, right? So it's no longer to scale. So maybe, this last one, I want to really have it as the whole page, right? I just want to fill up everything, right? So I got page 1, page 2. I'm just going to kind of zoom out here. So we got like page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4 and 5. And maybe that one I'll put some text on top and just say, hey, I want that photo to be the background. So let's just go to that particular page here and say we have those headline tools. So I can just type that in and say winter is brr. Right? So just having fun with some, kind of go from one page to the other ideas. So that's how we can place our images. So again, we create image boxes. We can create, place, export, and then we can also change the frames and so on. So here, I want to use this arrow, like a selection tool, and this lets me quickly select things. And then what I'm doing is just using the mouse to zoom in here. So I'm just on a MacBook Pro for this demo. And so if I click on this one, this is where I can then play with, see it has like stroke here. So let's change this, and I'm going to go to, let's make it, I don't know, let's make it one of those really bad colors that we talked about that won't print well. And just have a look at it. So here's, I put a big yellow, ugly mustard border, right? Just to, and there, that's for you, Jeff, the nice yellow border. But so, you can, again, like, okay, so we go, shoot, I go, Jeff, why don't you have a look at this? And then Jeff says, hey, don't use that yellow. It's going to just not work, right? So I go, okay, so no problem. We're in the digital world. So, I can just make it, gray, right? Like maybe I want a gray yellow. Okay, so that's nicer, right? So now we're kind of ready, and I got rid of my, my highlight. Looks like a highlighter, right? So that way, I can just go to gray, right? Or I can, maybe I want to go like kind of blue-gray or something, that's a little bit nicer. So, again, think about what it looked like. That yellow looked like it didn't look great, right? So what you see is what you get. So really always think about that. So that's how we can change the frames, the colors, right? So we just use the selection tool, and then we just go up here. It's under the stroke column, and you can play with that. And then maybe here we want to do the concave, and we'll play with that and make it kind of a interesting shape for whatever reason. And that's fine, right? So you can see here, I'll just zoom in here, we got the text. See, you can see how it comes up from there, and it's continuing from here, right? Changing times are part of our, right? And I have that linked over to here, part of our lives, right? And that way I can keep changing this and write about it. And it's going to just go and fill the box, right? And that's that connection tool we have. And how do I know it's connected? Just kind of retracing our steps. I'll click on this, right? And you see that blue line, it's showing me that it's connected to over here, right? So that's that. So I know, okay, that's connected. So it's a great way if you're going to have a lot of, filler text, or maybe you want to put in your photos and then write about it. We can always do it the other way, right? And so if you kind of give yourself those text boxes and then work around the images. But here's kind of the idea. So, regular frame, just a big picture on one side there, one with the black frame around it, right? One like this with a bit of a blue-gray kind of frame, and then one like this, right? And let's see, maybe, we want to put another picture on top of this. Who's to say we can't do that? So let's do that. And I'll put in a little one more we did here in one of our earlier sessions, which was, let's see if we can get it. Oh, I think it's in another session, so I don't have it here. But here, let me just go to the, oops. Oh, there it is. Okay. Photos. Yeah. I'll put this one in. Right, so again, just a nice, we can kind of rescale it. Maybe we want it to fill like that. Right, so and now the other thing I should mention is, so this middle part, if I click on, I'm moving the photo, right, with that middle one. On the top here, I'm moving the frame box. Right, so there's two moves. You can move the photo that's inside the box, and you see it's kind of grayed out to show you the full scope of the photo. But if I click on the top, I'm moving the actual frame. Right, so just the differences between the two is that frame versus the and you can see that I'm scaling the frame, right? And I'm revealing more of the photo up to as much of the photo that exists, right? So that kind of works like that. And then here's this bottom one, just to recap, that's the zoom of the actual photo, right? So that's it. And then, so, if we're like, okay, that looks nice, we're happy with that. Then the next step is then what we'll do next time is in the software, we'll look at how we export it, right? But first, as I probably broke a bunch of different layout rules and stuff, I'm going to pass it over to Jeff, and he's going to talk about that the whole working with images, and theoretically, and how we can do the best layout work for that. So let me pass it over to Jeff. Here we go.
Well, that's great, Tom. That's a great demonstration of the software. Like, it really has a lot of uses, and that's just watching you work it there. It's very inspiring. So, and I liked your I liked your yellow border there, but when you changed it to the blue, it just matched it perfectly. So that was just a little tweak you made that made all the difference there. Yeah, that was really great. I'm just going to I'll just talk a little bit about the way you laid it out there. I like the way you did the title at the top of the before the story, or before your presentation there, and it was just like a photo presentation, almost like a photo book, which really great. Something to lead the reader into the project you're getting into, and then starting with a really nice photo of the scene, the sunset scene or the sunrise scene, and it's a really great start for it there. And then I really like the 2-page layout there with the winter is brr, and I really like that. It's just very powerful, and it's great that you can do that. You can do like a full page layout there. It would it's it's very good. That's the thing you were doing, though, was impacting your artwork with the text, and that's really the marriage of text and images, and that's what we're talking about. And the text boxes too, the linking text box is just amazing. And I don't really have a whole lot of things to really critique you on at all. I really liked everything. The thing is, I tend to work without too many borders, unless there's a need for the borders in the cartoons that I do. I would just show you if we can. Well, let me see if I can link my screen here. Let's see if I can do that here. Share my screen, and then I'll switch it over to my screen. There we go. Let's see if that'll work. Tom, I hope that's coming in okay.
Yeah, it's good, Jeff.
Just gonna show an imported graphic here. One of my illustrations here, and I could put a border on that. I think for the purposes, because for these cartoons I don't usually put a border on them. But what if I was doing a presentation like this, I would probably try to start it with what was most impactful on the scene, and that would be the image, and then I would probably put some. I'm just going to just basically do a diagram. This isn't going to be a fully finished piece here by any means. I'll just do kind of do it sketch it a bit here. So I would use my studio pen here. Okay. And I'll just remove the text here. So I would probably start with something like this, that if I was going to say this is my cartoon here, I would probably put a headline at the top, much like Tom did there. And I'm just roughing this out, of course. So you've got your impact number one is your headline. Impact number two is the image. It's a powerful image, and then probably your body text would go on this side here. I'm just going to kind of ghost out what that would be like and show the lines here, A, B, C, D, whatever. And this is where your body text would go, and it would be maybe your story about Jeff Wilson cartoons. So that's kind of what you want to do. You want to give each one should have its priority in the image, and of course it's in the order that your eye is catching it too. The headline would be number one because it's at the top of the page, and your eye would be drawn southward to the image, and then hopefully to the text over here, to your third most impactful image there. So and definitely, Tom, you were doing that in what you were doing there too. That was great. And I'm just going to maybe reduce that. So let's try, I'm going to clear that image there. And in the software here, we can insert a file. So I'm just going to take a comic strip. You're talking about the comic strips and how you can add them in. For the books that I do, my own comics, for example, they're pretty simple to do. You just have to know what you fit as much as you can onto a page without it looking too busy. This ideally would look probably pretty good with just the one cartoon on the page, or you could add another cartoon. Let's even try that. Let's pretend we're duplicating. Let's just duplicate this layer here, and we'll move that down a bit. So you could let's imagine that for the sake of the topic that we're doing a book about the comic strips, and I've got doing 2 pages or 2 comic strips per page, and you've got a little bit of white space. It's still not too unattractive to look at, and it's you could do it that way too. So what you do is you try to fit it in a way that it is attractive to the viewer and to you too, of course, as the person that's creating the content too. You certainly want that. So I'm just going to take one of these away here, and let's imagine again we bring in one of those other tunes here. Let me see if I can just insert a file here. Yeah, let's grab that one again. Here, I'll just slip that up here. So if we're talking about the Jeff Wilson cartoons, I think you can do this in the Affinity Publisher as well. You can move the text above that. So then you get, and you could put your headline in here. Let's just maybe change the color of the text too. You could even have a different color of text here. Just have a headline here, and then let's just change that back to the black text again, and then you could have your body text here, your story about your what your images are of, and just a kind of an indication of where the text would go, and this could be a very interesting piece too. And again, I'm doing, let's just kind of give it a little more interest sake. But I have the headline here, number 1, and a little bit of an explanation here, number 2. And the eye could either go here or it could go here. So it's from number one, the headline, the main attention grabber, to a little bit of an explanation of what you're going to see. Like Jeff Wilson drew these cartoons when he was 4 years old, and look at him now. who knows what we're saying, but whatever you're describing or whatever you're demonstrating, that would go in this area here. And then, of course, the eye could be drawn one way or the other. Whatever draws the eye most would be the impact from there. So that's another way of perhaps approaching it. And the border as well. Like it, you could do a let's see, you could do this image, let's say, and let's just move that over here a bit. And you could just do a little border around that too. Let's make a nice border. Yeah, that's a nice gray border. And I'm just going to do it in, I don't know how to make borders in a Procreate. So you could do that. And what the border does really is it kind of focuses on it and gives it like it stands out on its own. And you could do, let's see, over here you could put that comic strip again, and we wouldn't have to. Let's see, let's take that out of here. Let's let's just do a little drawing of Jeff Wilson here. It won't be a really accurate one. This could be like a lead into the book. It could be just add a couple of details to it to sort of show it's somewhat of what it was supposed to be. And it could be a cutout photo of me here, and we could say a headline in here saying Jeff Wilson. Sort of a headline here, and the eye would be drawn a totally different direction here. It kind of, the text here is coming down this way toward the image of me, whatever that is. It wouldn't have to be this. This is just an indication. So what I'm basically doing is thumbnailing out how I would lay the book out. And Tom's is the technical side, which would polish this up, and then it could be drawn here, and you've got, with the nice border there, you kind of solidify that. So it's a very interesting way of drawing the eye to the whole thing. Or the other thing is, it could actually be drawn this way and then over this way. So it's really neat how that can go. The image in this case could be helped out by the text, or vice versa. And if we just, let's see, what could we do here? I'll take that out again and go back here again. Open layers, and I'm just going to do move this again, and just this could be give you the main impact in your story or on your page, and it could be just like a little caption or a little line of text at the bottom. I'm just going to try to do that here. I'll just so we'll punchline. So your punchline to go with your gag, basically, and that could be what you're doing here. It's very subtle. Again, it's just very simple. Just laying it out at the bottom, and you're not you're letting the text dominate the image, or sorry, your image dominate the document, or this particular image of it. So the marriage of the two, the image and the text, is always the balancing act that you're you're doing every time you do this. And that could have a border, or you might not want to have a border. In fact, um, the beauty of the software, I think, is that, well, if you're drawing in photographs, you might need a border to separate two photographs, because I don't know if I can show it with what I have here. Maybe I can just take out the images that I have here, but and indicate if I have a couple of photos. So I might have, ooh, let's try that again. Let's create a new layer here. So I might have two photos here, and one is inset against the other. So, and Tom showed us how we can do that with the software. And unless there is a border on this inset one, we might not be able to tell that they're separate photo. And I've run into this a number of times in the newspaper field. You are asked to inset a photo, or you do an inset a photo, and it looks like it was intended to be together in the photo, and all it really needed was a border to show that they were two separate photos that were blended together. So it might be, let's see, you might have, I don't know, a car or something here in this photo. And and the driver of the car maybe here in this photo, and it's the photo is basically indicating that Bob Jones and his car. And if you didn't have a border on that, it might look like Bob Jones is getting run over by a car. So it might look like the car's going to run over him, and that's not what you want. But if you put a nice border on there, and let's just maybe get a colorful border, yeah, and you try to pick a color that, you know, if you got a darker color, I would probably use a white or something that would, like a white border, and fairly thick too, so it's clear that it's not the same photo, it's a separate photo. And sometimes if you have the photos that are different enough, you won't need that. But if you do have something where there's a guy in his car, and probably the backgrounds would be very similar, it might be hard to judge that it's from a different photograph. So something to keep in mind, and you'll probably, with your own eye, you'll be able to detect that might be a problem in your presentation. And you could also do several insets together in a photo. Or another thing you could do is have this text at the bottom, Bob Jones in his car. That might be something you'd put in another box inside the window too. That might be something you do, a little text box here at the bottom here, and then have like a little caption. And that would be totally separate. So that's another option too, and it would keep basically the same layout. And you know, if you had that a similar size, you might want to sort of see how that corresponded with the image of the car. If it was good to keep it to the same width, or to make it narrower, just to show that it would affect the impact of the image too, or of the whole image as a whole. To have that text box at the bottom narrower, it would show that that's describing the car above, and that's what I'm talking about. So, but it's something that you can judge by your eye, and with the software, you can certainly play with it and see which works best for you. And anyway, I think that's great. Let's see. I don't know if I can really say much more, except that it's again, as Tom was saying, take your time, and don't assume the first thing you judge is the best thing, and be ready to edit. And if the mustard borders may not be what work, but certainly look at different borders styles. You can do, I think, Tom, you can change the thicknesses of the borders as well, and you probably can even fade them out. Have your tech or your image boxes fade into the background too. And I think that's what I know they can do that in InDesign. So there's no end of things you can do with the borders and boxes. So I think that's pretty much covered as much as I can. It's a marriage between the image and the text, and sometimes it'll be just images too. It'll be marriages of multiple or a single image.
Perfect. Yeah, thanks, Jeff. Yeah, that's fantastic. I think I just wanted to mention that if people have questions, please write them in now, and we can address some of the questions. I think that's really great, Jeff, that you talk about because we went over text, images, but there is they're connected, right? So that you might have an idea of how you want to do text layout, but then you might have to move it. And because we're in digital software, it's not the end of the world to to move your text around versus it's not like you're refabricating plates or something, right? Like you can just move the text box around, and that's really good. And I think I'd like to mention, and I think you touched on that really well, is that that age old thing, and with video work and everything, people always say that just because you can doesn't mean you should. And I think that really brings up a good idea of the frames. I just wanted to showcase, okay, I can put them in frames and do that. But you really brought up I loved your example of your cartoon, because it doesn't need a frame, and it's organic, that, it just lets the cartoon be over white, right? So by putting a frame on it, you're really changing the messaging of it in a way, right? You're putting it in a box, versus photos can fit in a box, right? But maybe if I took a photo and I cropped it out and I didn't have a background, then that would be maybe a photo that I wouldn't even want in a box, right? I just want to, if it was a windmill and it was cropped out, I wouldn't want to then put it in a box, right? I'd maybe want to just have it cropped out. So same with your drawings and paintings or anything you're putting in there, image-wise, you don't even need to have a frame or a box, right? You can think outside the box, literally. But yeah, I think that was a really great example of like how do you. And the other thing that I thought was great is when you put the first frame of the first comic strip in the page, you just put one, and you said you don't have to put two rows. You might just that negative space, I think, is really interesting. Could you talk just a bit about the negative space, just as much as? Oh.
It's very true, Tom. Yeah, the open space, the white space, it's something that's really important. I've been working in newspapers, and I've been told that I use too much white space but I think a little bit of openness really helps the artwork to be showcased. And I think that's I know with cartoons, comic strips in particular, we slap a border on them, and they have to be bordered. But if that's really something that gets under your skin, you can address that with on a page like that, where you have a lot of white space around it, and it really does work. And it's very I don't know, it's just blank space, but an image with blank space around it can really help your design. It can help draw your eye to a subject too. So yeah, you're right. It's and certainly in directing too, Tom, you would notice this a lot. The mix of blank space or white space or negative space, as we might say, with the space with an object on it. It's really the white space can really help your design, and it just opens it up a bit. If you've got too many things going on at once, it can be I beg your pardon, it's always fighting for control of something else. So yeah, to always consider that you need to have the right amount of white space or negative space with your positive space, with your used space. And I think you'll be. It's a balancing act, but it's certainly rewarding at the end if you can get the right balance.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. Yeah, and I think that again, that when you just put the one comic strip, it was to me that was more interesting as a design than having two, right? Like the one worked a lot nicer in my opinion. Then when you put two, all of a sudden it's overly busy, right? So, and I think that that's really interesting that building things and then maybe subtracting, right? Like you can always put more and then take it away and go, you know what? That's actually just nice with, maybe I just want one photo on that whole page instead of two photos, and that one photo can, just stand on its own and tell that story. And again, and maybe instead of three photos, there's two photos, right? So there could always just be one less or one less item. So I got a question here. Someone's asking, Affinity Publisher, can it be used on an iPad? So currently, no, there isn't an iPad version. You can use the other one. So like Designer, which is like Illustrator, or like the photo one. So in Designer, you could also set up publishing. The focus of Publisher is that it's really specifically targeted at doing print ready publishing work. And also, if you want to publish pages and books, right? So it has kind of a pre-set up template to work that way versus Designer. That software is kind of more like page by page, right? So the Publisher, the main big difference is that you say right away, hey, I want 100 pages, and you can just go 100 pages and design them, create a master page. In the other software, you can do that too, but it just takes more setup. So this one's like a ready to go desktop publishing, right? So that's really the focus of it. But yeah, you could use Designer on your iPad, do stuff there, and then bring it into Publish on a desktop. So that's kind of a little bit of a roundabout, but yeah, okay. So Jeff, I'll hand it back over to you to sign off. We can wrap things up, and yeah, here you go.
Okay, well, thanks again, Tom, and thanks everybody for watching. Yeah, it's desktop publishing is a um, it's an exciting world. It's I've gone from as I might have said in a previous one of our previous sessions, I went from the cut and paste days where that's where I started in publishing, basically cutting pieces of paper and gluing them together, and it's really changed a lot. You're doing it with machines. Your computer is doing basically the same thing, but there's so many more applications, like the what Tom was showing, the box in the box. You can focus in on one part of your image box and focus in on like you had the camera there in the one shot, and you could cut it out and just focus on the sunrise or the sunset, or you could expand and have the whole picture there. Yeah, you couldn't do that in one day. So it sure changed and improved, and I think we're all better off for it. And I really excited to hear about this new software. The price of it is just phenomenal compared to other like the Adobe InDesign. It's Adobe products in general are quite expensive, and which I'm not complaining about that, but if you can get something that's within your budget and you can create your own publishing projects, that is certainly more conducive. So it's exciting, and if you already have some basics, and I hope that we were able to help you with our presentation today to get started on your project and create your own published reality. So I like to say thank you, and thanks for being here today, and wish you all the best, and keep working with your projects, and thank you.
Perfect. Thanks, Jeff. That was fantastic. So, thanks to all our partners, Blue Mountains Public Library, Collingwood Public Library, Wasaga Beach Public Library, and the Canada Council for the Arts. And we will see everybody in part 4. Take care.